Unity Software stock is down over 80% in 2022. So let's take a deep dive into its second quarter 2022 conference call and try and figure out what's going on with Unity stock. And let's start with the CEO, which the opening statement here I've highlighted says looks into the company's mission and says Unity has become the world's leading platform for real-time 3D content creation designed to enable creator success, and ultimately this led Unity having two main lines of business: the create side, which helps creators make real-time 3D content, and the operate side, where we help creators find operational and business success with their content. So they help creators create their content, but they also help creators monetize and operate their content. And so this is two segments of their business right now. Overall, revenue was up 9% in their most recent quarter to 297 million. They had, going down a little further here, the CEO notes, we have fixed the data challenges that we discussed last quarter and are launching new features. Okay, this is important. We'll see more on this later on in the call. At this quarter's update, they lowered the full year revenue guidance to 1.3 to 1.35 billion as the revenue uptick is slower than modeled. In other words, revenue growth was slower than expected, so they needed to decrease their outlook for the rest of the year, which certainly did not please Unity stock investors. Moving on, they discussed the segments, and Unity's Create segment delivered another strong quarter with revenue of 121 million, which was up 66% year over year. The second quarter of 2022 was the biggest quarter ever for its games segment, right? So robust growth from games in its Create segment. But now Unity is much more than games, as their growing success outside of their game areas. Their business outside of games represented 25% of their total Create business for the full year of 2021, and now it increased to 33% for the fourth quarter of 2021. And by the end of the second quarter of 2022, that segment represented 40% of the overall Create business. So it's almost half and half games and half not games. And so they're diversifying out of just solely being a creator solution for games creators. Moving on to Mark Witten, which is the Senior VP and GM at Unity Create. He notes that they continue to see a large share of games released across all gaming platforms made with Unity. That's good news for Unity stock investors. And these run the gamut from the largest games publishers in the world to independent developers releasing their very first games to massive success. So they have a diversified customer base, both pros and newbies starting out, as gamers like to call people who first start playing games, the noobs. Right? So today, Unity powers more than 70% of the top mobile games, right? These are games played on mobile devices. And nearly half of games on Steam, which is another online platform for PC gaming, were made on Unity in 2021. So the story we're beginning to see here as a Unity stock investor is that many creators choose Unity for their game creations, for their creations across several platforms, not just mobile, not just PC. They're using Unity across several platforms. And in virtual reality, on Oculus Quest, Unity games made up 80% of the most popular games in July and 72% of top-selling games. This is also encouraging for Unity stock investors. Virtual reality is going to grow to become a larger share of the overall gaming market, and the fact that Unity already has a massive market share in this arena is good news for Unity stock investors. Also in the second quarter, we signed our single largest digital twin agreement to date. This is a deal with CACI, one of the US government's leading IT service partners. Unity will help the government in defining human-machine interfaces, in other words HMI, for the aerospace applications and beyond. These applications demand an interactive, robust user experience, very much like games. So this is also encouraging for Unity stock investors that Unity software is seen as one of the best from not only creators but also the US government. So this is great news. Further, this quarter they announced a deal with Mercedes-Benz so that Mercedes-Daimler cars will be equipped with this human-machine interface going 2024 and beyond. Mercedes-Benz and Unity are taking the next generation user interactions such as maps, avatars, artificial intelligence concierges, and in-car entertainment to a new level by implementing on a real-time 3D engine. This is great news. This is another sign, yet another sign for Unity stock investors that their platform is really best in class, is really seen as one of the best, because Mercedes is an ultimate luxury car brand. Their intent is more so to find inputs for their vehicles that are best in class, top of the line. They're not looking for discount products. They're not looking for bargain deals when they're looking for suppliers. So the fact that they made this deal with Unity says a lot about the quality of Unity software, the customer value proposition that Unity software offers its customers, its clients. And so great news for Unity, great news for Unity stock investors. The growth in digital twin technology. So this is the other side. Remember we talked earlier about, half of the business for Unity is in games and the other half is outside of games. This is one area of the other half of the segment in digital twin technology. This includes investing in product innovation like neural radiance fields, or NERF, which is rendering for visualizing zero touch-up object captures to make it possible for everyone to build their own digital twins, and advanced synthetic data creation so that future algorithms and machines can be trained more effectively and efficiently. Great news. And what this, in layman terms, this is going to make it easier for everyday people to use Unity Software's technologies instead of just pro game creators and pro digital twin technology users. It's going to make it more accessible to a broader audience. And they note that real-time 3D has one challenge that they must continue to work to address, and that is the enormous need for 3D content. 3D content creation is complex and expensive, with large file sizes, complicated rendering techniques required that in order to deliver results are tuned to a specific device and platform. It requires specific expertise on a variety of highly trained technical artists in order to be successful. That's why our democratization, gosh, that's hard to say, mission includes the needs to provide powerful artist tools that make artists significantly more effective and productive, that make it possible for more people to create in 3D. In other words, this expands on what I noted earlier, how they're trying to make it easier for more people to use their software, not just for professionals, not just for bigger businesses. They want to give it access to more people for the reason, right? Why do they want to give it access to more people? Of course, because it creates a significant opportunity for TAM expansion. What is TAM? TAM stands for Total Addressable Market. That's the size of the opportunity for Unity software. That means that's more customers, more potential sales revenue that it can capture if it makes its software easier to use for a broader range of people. Interestingly, they have more than 20 million cloud-based render hours on the upcoming movie from the Walt Disney Company, Avatar 2, and other productions. So this is going to be cool to see when we go watch the movie Avatar 2 in theaters coming later this year. We're going to look at that the CGI in the movie and all the graphics and see Unity Software's work in the movie theater. Here they start to talk about the other side of the business, which is operate, which is the side that helps creators monetize their creations. That side of the business is struggling. That side of the business is the reason, the primary reason why Unity stock is down 80% in 2022. Operate's revenue of 159 billion was down 13% year over year. Ingrid Lestio talks about starting with the data quality issue. This one is behind this. So they had an issue with data quality. They removed the bad data that was inadvertently ingested from interacting with any of our models. Furthermore, we have fortified our monitoring capabilities and observability for our machine learning models to mitigate these rare types of events should they occur again in the future. And in my opinion, what's going to happen here is creators are going to take a wait and see approach. They're going to say, okay, you're telling us you fixed it, prove it, let's see if it's actually fixed before they can start to feel comfortable that the issue is resolved. Moving on to Josh Risatelio, CEO of Unity Software, speaks about a few weeks ago we announced Unity and Iron Source intend to join forces and will combine creation and grow into a single platform to increase creator success. So this was a announced acquisition combination with Iron Source, and part of the reason for the acquisition was to solve that data problem they had on the operate side of the business. The CEO forecasts this combination will lead Unity to deliver 1 billion in adjusted EBITDA run rate by the end of 2024. So again, this remains to be seen, but a ambitious forecast to be sure. Their intent is to unite the work of creating content and engaging users in one interim process where data flows from the growth platform in the creation process and makes the game better. Based on this learning, creators will iterate, change aspects of the content, the advertising and user acquisition strategies, driving more financial success. So, in other words, gamers are going to be able to use this software, the data that they learn from this software, to iterate their monetizing capabilities. Do they want to have their games be free, completely free and ad supported? Do they want to have them be a fixed price for purchase, such as $3.99 to download the app? Do they want to make it ad supported with premium purchasing capabilities? Do they want to start off one way and convert into another? So Unity is going to provide creators with the data they need to analyze this decision and make better decisions to monetize their content, which of course would be incredibly useful for creators. They are very interested in monetizing their creations. And moving on to Luis Felipe Visoso, who is the CFO of Unity Software. He notes that at the end of the second quarter, we had 1,085 customers with revenue over 100,000 in the previous 12 months, and that was compared to 888 customers at the end of the second quarter last year, which is an increase of 22%. That's good news. They're increasing the amount of customers that are generating over 100,000 in revenue. However, it was a lower rate of growth in that segment, and that was primarily driven by the data problems in their operate segment. Their 12-month trailing net dollar expansion came in at 121%, down from 142%. So this again is driven by the problems in the operate segment. We're beginning to see evidence here that the difficulties, the challenges they experience in the operate segment is turning off customers from joining Unity Software. It's causing customers to leave. It's causing new customers not to join, and so it's becoming a problem. And you can understand why they made that acquisition to try and address this problem. But it's still, in my opinion, it's not completely resolved until they can regain the trust of creators and re-accelerate this expansion in customer signups and net dollar expansion. Now, because of these headwinds that they're facing, they decided to initiate some cost saving programs because they understand that revenue growth is not going to be as robust as they deal with these challenges. And so they're making progress against the $100 million cost saving program that they announced last quarter. That's good news. I noted in an earlier video that it was good news that they're decreasing their sales and marketing budget because they're not expecting to generate as many conversions. So it's a good sign to see them implement some prudent financial management during this challenging period. So at the midpoint of their forecasted revenue growth, they expect third quarter revenue to grow 14% year over year and fourth quarter revenue to accelerate to 21%. And as we expect strong performance increase throughout the year and improving performance in operate, that's a little bit concerning to me for Unity stock investors that management is relying on improving performance from the operate segment to drive this 20% revenue growth in the fourth quarter. That may not materialize, as when clients lose trust in a service, in my experience, it takes a little bit longer than just 1 or 2 quarters to regain that trust and reaccelerate revenue growth. But I could be wrong. That could be my opinion. And my opinion has been wrong several times before. But I will just highlight that for Unity stock investors. And interestingly, they are committed to achieving non-GAAP break-even profitability in the fourth quarter of this year, despite the lower revenue expectations. And, take that with a grain of salt. Anytime I see non-GAAP, that raises a red flag for me. GAAP is generally accepted accounting principles and the way companies have to report earnings. And they could offer investors non-GAAP metrics, but then they need to also convert those into GAAP metrics. But what the company is asking you to do here is look at non-GAAP profitability, which I don't like to do, and I recommend investors not to look at any non-GAAP metrics and to take them with a grain of salt. And again, the third quarter, they're forecasting non-GAAP operating loss of 35 to 50 million. And keep in mind here that non-GAAP means they're adjusting their generally accepted accounting profitability performance with figures that make it more favorable for themselves, and they're still going to generate the loss of 35 to 50 million. For the full year, they expect a non-GAAP operating loss between 95 and 115 million. So massive losses on the bottom line, and they're adjusted already, and still losses on the bottom line. This is not good news for Unity stock investors, and another reason why the stock could be down so much in 2022, as stock market investors have kind of turned away from unprofitable growth stocks. They want to see growth, but investors also want to see growth at a reasonable rate, not delivering all of these losses on the bottom line. I will finish here with the final statement that the management makes, in that we continue to believe that there is a very large opportunity in front of us and that we are very well positioned to capture it. And in this statement, I agree with them. There is a very large opportunity in front of them. The software, again, we saw earlier with these major clients that they were able to sign, they were able to bring on board: the US government, Mercedes-Benz, so many others, so many of the popular gaming platforms choose Unity software. But at the same time, what if they needed to charge these providers a higher price, enough so that they don't deliver losses on the bottom line? Would they be able to secure that many sales? That remains to be seen, and it's something I always consider when I'm looking at unprofitable growth stocks. I'm thinking to myself, yes, you're growing this much, you're growing all of these sales, but you're also losing a lot of money on the bottom line. What if you charged customers a price sufficient to not have so much losses on the bottom line? Would you still deliver that many sales, or would you lose a lot of sales because you had to increase your price to a sustainable level? And so that's always a question mark I place on unprofitable growth stocks. But to be sure, a massive opportunity in front of it, not only in the near term over the next few years, but also the longer term over the next decade or two, as virtual reality, as the metaverse expands, which is an area primed for Unity software to thrive in. Okay, so yes, incredible opportunities ahead if the company can hit these milestones, fix their problems, execute better, and grow their top line without losing so much money on the bottom line. All right, so that's all I've got for this Unity Software Stock Deep Dive. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in the next installment. Hopefully, I've added some value to you here with this earnings call Deep Dive. If I have and you agree, please go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. It'll help me create more awesome videos like this. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. The Motley Fool is a company that provides investing insight and stock recommendations for all investors of all skill sets and risk levels. So I'm proud to partner with the Motley Fool to bring you 10 stock picks from their popular product, Stock Advisor. Stock Advisor has beaten the market by more than 3 times. Go to fool.com/parkev to get your 10 stock picks now.